In a small town nestled between rivers and fields lived a 17-year-old boy named Armin who loved to paint. He wasn't loud, he wasn't popular, but his room was filled with sketches, color-smudged walls, and canvases only his grandmother ever saw. He painted sunsets with shadows, city alleys glowing with lanterns, dreams stitched in abstract blues. But he never showed his work in public because he believed his paintings were too weird, too messy, too not good enough. What he feared most wasn't failure. It was being laughed at for something that came straight from his soul. Chapter 2. The school contest one day. The principal announced an inter-school art competition. The winning painting would be displayed in the city art gallery and published in a national youth magazine. Armin's classmates buzzed with excitement, but Armin stayed quiet. That night, his grandmother said, "You don't need a perfect painting, just an honest one." He still hesitated until he saw his old paintbrush in the corner. The one with a cracked wooden handle and frayed bristles. It was his first brush, the one he'd always used. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like home. He picked it up and began to paint. Chapter 3. The painting called Inside Out. 4 days, Armin poured himself into the canvas. He didn't paint what others expected. No portraits, no flowers, no landscapes. He painted a boy with a cracked mask on his face, standing in a world made of broken clocks, floating dreams, and light pouring from scars. It was strange, bold, raw, he called it, inside out. On submission day, other students submitted clean, pretty, conventional artwork. Armin nearly turned back, but his grandmother smiled and said, "The world has enough pretty pictures. It needs some real ones." He handed it in. Chapter 4. The laugh and the silence. A few days later, the school displayed all entries in the hall. Some paintings were of sunsets, some of tigers, some of freedom and peace. Then came Armin. People stared. "What is that supposed to be? Why is everything broken? It looks like a nightmare." He heard snickers, whispers. Even a teacher looked confused. Armin stood there, face burning. He wanted to disappear. Chapter 5. The letter 2 days later, he found an envelope in his locker. Inside was a letter with the city art gallery's stamp. It read, "It shook something inside us raw, unfiltered. We rarely see this kind of honesty. Well done. Dear Armin, we've chosen Inside Out to represent your school." He stood frozen. He read it again and again. Not only was he not rejected, he was chosen. Chapter 6. The day in the gallery. At the gallery, his painting stood among others. One girl cried in front of it. A boy whispered, "It looks like my dream." A man stared for 20 minutes and said, "I've never seen myself painted before." Armin stood silently in the back. Not one person asked who he was. And for the first time, that didn't matter, because his voice was already speaking through the brush strokes of his truth. Epilogue. The cracked brush. Years later, Armin became an illustrator and creative therapist. He never changed his style. He never threw away that old cracked brush. He kept it framed on his wall with a quote that said, "This broken thing gave me my voice, so don't fix everything. Some cracks let truth in." Moral of the story: your flaws don't make your work weaker. They make it real. Not every masterpiece is understood right away, but that doesn't make it less true. You don't need a perfect tool to create something powerful. You just need honesty. If your work comes from the heart, it will reach another, even if it takes time.